let's talk about that. I mean, it's still down week to date now. It's closed at 180 yesterday. Your thoughts on where we're headed here?
Our Nvidia is a reflection of that no stock or very few can hide from a global sell-off like we had yesterday, even though Nvidia, the big fear going into their earnings release was, could they put up the numbers? Could they maintain the growth? And how Jensen Huang was going to guide for the future. Well, look through his comments, look through the release, and tell me one thing that showed any sign of deceleration or weakness or slowing. There wasn't any, Nicole, but stocks, especially widely held stocks like Nvidia, they're going to come under the pressure during a global sell-off. Now, we'll watch Nvidia and other stocks like that today as that whole sector really came under attack the last few days. And it was, remember, yesterday's stock market that opened higher and closed lower, that came under pressure because of uncertainty. You see a VIX now this morning sitting at 25. That's down 1.25 to get to 25 and change. You're looking at the 10-year yield now approaching 4% again, 4.05% to start the day. Crude oil is lower. So there's a lot of good things.
Recently, let's talk a little bit about Nvidia. Looks like a floor is starting to happen right now under shares in the pre-market. Still a little bit weak, but what's your take here?
Look, if you're looking at it from a technical standpoint, 180 is going to be a key area of support. That has been pretty much holding, let's say, for about a month and a half or so, basically since October. So we break through that 180-ish area, then you're starting to look at 170, and that's where, once again, that can weigh on the S&P 500 because it comprises like 7%, 7.5% of the S&P 500 here. Yesterday's bump to the upside and then this rapid reversal to the downside did also create a bearish engulfing candle if you're looking at the technicals here. So you could make the case that maybe Nvidia could move a little bit lower here over the next couple of sessions. Let's see if that actually does come to fruition. But the fundamentals were sound. The question going into the report, Diane, is not about the demand for GPUs. We know the demand is out there. We can see that within the financing markets and the debt markets that are being tapped in order to finance a lot of these data center build-outs. And I think right now investors kind of looked at it and said, okay, well, demand is still strong, but is there still perceived risk out there for some of these others that are having this kind of cycle type of funding mechanisms taking place, debt to equity ratios in the sense of Oracle maybe being a little bit stretched? And I think that is still going to be a concern until we hear otherwise or until we actually see otherwise in this market. So I think there's still a little bit of fear here. There's still opportunities in this market. Low beta, or basically stocks that are pretty much resilient or not really influenced by the S&P 500 as a whole, continue to catch bids. Also look at dividend names that are out there as well. That's usually a place where institutional investors go and hide anytime that we have heightened volatility.
Citing growing Blackwell demand, Evercore increased its price objective for Nvidia to $352, predicting a 95% upside. According to Evercore's Mark Lipacis, checks reveal that Blackwell's revenue increased by almost 50% on a quarterly basis, reaching over $13 billion as the supply of GB200 and GB300 parts improved. He pointed out that Nvidia is increasing supply commitments by around 63% and inventories by about 32% per quarter in order to fulfill higher demand. Nvidia has booked roughly $110 billion from its current computing pipeline, according to Lipacis, with an additional $390 billion possibly available in the quarters. As deployments pick up speed, he anticipates revenue growth to accelerate from about 56% in mid-2025 to roughly 79% by mid-2026. According to Lipacis, Nvidia appears more affordable than its long-run multiple at a price close to 25 times forward earnings, indicating that the decline may present a chance for patient investors to make purchases. Despite Nvidia's impressive quarterly earnings, the stock returned its earlier gains and ended the day down. Discussions about the AI bubble may not be going away anytime soon. Don't freak out just yet, though. Compared to Tesla, Amazon offers exposure to robotics and the cloud at a lower valuation. With Nvidia's impressive quarterly results and CEO Jensen Huang's positive remarks, it appeared that concerns about the AI bubble had been allayed for a while. That is, until Thursday morning, when stocks surged back, only to lose some of the gains as the day came to an end. To put it mildly, investors were definitely taken on quite the journey. Even while it's never enjoyable to watch profits from a strong quarter quickly evaporate, I do believe that the best possibilities come from these difficult times. To gain entry into a beloved brand at a reduced price, you may need to purchase on days when it might be quite nauseating to check your inventories. Given the uncertainty around a December rate decrease by the Fed, it appears that markets are prepared to search for catalysts in the upcoming year. There may be nothing but oversold conditions that set the stage for a year-end bounce, whether it's the upcoming earnings season or the next significant Fed meeting. So much for those forecasts that the S&P 500 would reach the 7,000 mark. I wouldn't get my hopes up for new records before the holidays, even though some well-known strategists and experts still believe a year-end move could be in the cards, as this most recent sell-off tries to make its next move a V-shaped bounce or a continuation of this terrible losing streak. We haven't witnessed such a negative market response to a wide range of quarterly results that were nothing short of exceptional in a long time. This raises a number of issues about AI valuation, and I do believe that we might actually avoid that bubble burst situation when valuations decline and a correction occurs, perhaps due to some people selling because they think we're in a bubble that is exploding right now. Investing in a market that undergoes a regular, natural correction every few quarters is far more appealing to me than one that goes into overdrive and runs at a parabolic rate before collapsing and imploding catastrophically. Maybe the talk about the AI bubble is stopping one in its tracks. We'll find out in time. In any case, I believe that investors in AI should focus more on individual names. Jensen Huang responded, "From our vantage point, we see something very different, when the prospect of an AI bubble was raised following the earnings. Jensen's position is arguably the best viewpoint available. Therefore, it's possible that investors shouldn't overreact to all of the excessively alarming comments about the AI bubble that are currently circulating. Opportunities will inevitably coexist with personal bubbles. Avoiding overvaluation, such as AI stocks with price-to-earnings, PE, multiples greater than 50 times, may be the key for investors in spotting attractively valued prospects. Only one of the magnificent 7 names now meets the criteria for having such a PE, and that is Tesla, which is currently trading at 178 times projected price-to-earnings, PE. Naturally, Optimus and Cybercab may open up a growth potential that would enable Tesla stock to justify its ostensibly high multiple, turning it from a bubble to a deal. In any event, I believe the e-commerce, cloud, and AI company is a relative bargain given that Amazon, which also has a nice Zoox robotaxi and a nice robotics runway, went for 28.1 times forward PE after sliding after one of the best Mag 7 earnings of the third quarter, as I've noted in previous pieces, reflecting on the company's latest Q3 result. However, the AI bubble may not be as devastating as the dot-com implosion of 25 years ago, especially for investors who choose their places wisely, unless you're pursuing smaller-cap AI startups with no earnings at all. To put it briefly, Nvidia's most recent financial results allayed concerns about the AI bubble for less than a day. It's possible that we won't see a quarter that breaks the potential bubble of AI concerns for some time. Nvidia keeps producing astounding results. More than half of the company's sales is being turned into profit. The price of Nvidia's shares is still fair. Earlier this week, the world's most valuable firm was under pressure to produce an incredible quarter, and it did not let anyone down. Shares of Nvidia surged hours after the company exceeded analyst revenue and earnings projections. Nvidia is still the best artificial intelligence, AI growth stock to purchase right now for the following 3 reasons. There are no indications that Nvidia will slow down. Blackwell graphics processing units, GPUs, are driving Nvidia's rapid growth in data center revenue and earnings. Blackwell Ultra is designed specifically for massive data centers to improve AI model training and inference, which has been a major factor in Nvidia's expansion. Indeed, Nvidia said that demand for hyperscalers is still higher than supply, indicating that investment in AI is still growing. During Nvidia's GTC 2025 conference in March of this year, Blackwell Ultra was revealed. Blackwell Ultra-based computers are already the most popular architecture among Nvidia's clientele. The related hardware and software that support Nvidia's GPUs aren't given enough credit. Nvidia became the world's largest networking firm when its networking sales increased from $3.1 billion in the third quarter of fiscal 2025 to $8.2 billion in the third quarter of fiscal 2026. All things considered, the ravenous demand for Nvidia's GPUs and its enormous growth in the networking sector demonstrate that the AI investment cycle is still in expansion mode. It's important to note that for the forthcoming fourth quarter, management has budgeted $0 for data center computer sales from China. Thus, despite a significant market being constricted, Nvidia is producing amazing achievements. Despite growing competition, margins are still high. As Broadcom and Advanced Micro Devices secure significant cloud partnerships, competition is intensifying. Broadcom designs processors for AI applications in collaboration with hyperscalers. When combined with its networking equipment, such as Tomahawk switches and Jericho routers, Broadcom's system can be more affordable than general-purpose GPUs, particularly when executing tasks that are based on pre-existing AI models with set patterns. The data center's workhorses, on the other hand, are Nvidia's GPUs, which can handle challenging situations. Nvidia's margins remain quite high in spite of the competition and its higher expenditures, demonstrating that there is adequate room for several solutions to prosper in hyperscale AI data centers. Nvidia produced an operating margin of 63.2% in its most recent quarter, which was marginally better than the 62.3% it had a year prior. Direct cash returns to shareholders are being made by Nvidia. In the first 9 months of fiscal 2026, Nvidia spent $36.3 billion on stock buybacks, up from $25.9 billion in the same time in fiscal 2025. By more than offsetting its stock-based remuneration, Nvidia's stock buyback program keeps current shareholders from being diluted. Consequently, it lowers the number of outstanding shares of Nvidia, accelerating the rise of earnings per share and improving the stock's value. Nvidia is still a good AI stock to get right now. By delivering quarter after quarter of rapid earnings growth, keeping its high margins, and producing significant extra cash flow despite increased spending, Nvidia continues to disprove the naysayers of AI. It's difficult to argue that Nvidia's stock is pricey if the company keeps generating explosive profits growth. When purchasing the stock, investors should still have a long-term perspective because a missed earnings report would probably cause a quick sell-off. Due to investor concerns that the Federal Reserve might not drop interest rates again in December, a market surge sparked by Nvidia's strong profits abruptly ended on Thursday, leaving U.S. stocks much lower. At the end, all three of the main indexes were negative. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, DJI, closed at 45,726 points, down 0.8% or 386.81 points. At session highs, the blue chip index was up over 700 points before losing all of its gains. The S&P 500 ended the day at 6,538.76 points, down 1.6% or 103.40 points. The worst performing industries included technology, energy, communication services, materials, industrials, and consumer discretionary stocks. Don't forget to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your input helps create a more knowledgeable community where we can all learn and grow together in the world of investing. Stay up to date with the latest market trends, insights, and key updates by subscribing to Investing Tutorial. We're here to help you make smarter investment decisions and stay ahead of the curve.
You know, earlier this week, we launched the AI Infrastructure Coalition, and the work that we're doing is really supporting exactly what Commerce Secretary Lutnick said at our launch earlier this week, which is to ensure that America wins the global AI race. And President Trump and the Trump administration are going full steam ahead in ensuring that we dominate this and beat China, which is absolutely critical to American interests, both nationally and globally. So it's a really exciting time. We are so excited to be working hand in glove with the Trump administration to ensure that American companies and American values are what dominate the AI race globally.
Well, this is all what we care about very much as well, and our audience as well, Kirsten. What kind of policy changes do you want to see in order to make that happen?
Well, there's a number of things that have got to happen. You know, one of the challenges that we face is building the data centers that actually help people like you and me and all of us, our lives get easier. So when we build more data centers, we can power more AI. That allows us to have faster emergency response times. It helps us identify diseases and cure them faster. I mean, it makes a difference in our daily lives. But it is very difficult to build and do permitting in our country right now. And actually, Congressman Graves is an expert on the issues of energy and permitting. And so he's helping us lead our coalition in working with the administration and with Congress to make those changes so we can actually do this faster, do it more effectively, and ensure that we defeat China.
Yeah, I love this because, Garrett, you know, we've been talking about permitting so much. This is a huge game changer when it comes to growth in the economy. The White House is currently drafting an executive order which is challenging state efforts to enact their own artificial intelligence laws. The order would establish an AI task force to launch lawsuits and threaten federal funding for states within contested AI laws. So walk us through what policy you want to see, Garrett. AI industry leaders, including OpenAI, Sam Altman, venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz, are opposing a state-by-state policy approach. I know there are more than just this state-by-state, but even President Trump wrote on X, we can't have 50 different AI rules. We have to have one federal rule, which is looking at AI. Talk to us about that, as well as the permitting that Kirsten just mentioned.
Sure. Look, Kirsten's exactly right. This is a race, and there's no second place. It's either going to be the United States or China. Currently, 80% of global demand for data centers is happening in these two countries. We're up against a country that doesn't care about the environment, human rights, doesn't care about intellectual property rights. We've got to have a set of rules in the United States that are going to allow us to compete and allow us to win this global race. It comes down to three things. One, the data. Do you want the United States or China in charge of your data, your private information? Number two, it comes down to energy. Do you want China or the United States? We have cleaner energy. We have more reliable energy, natural gas. We're innovating on small modular reactors and nuclear power. And it comes down to the technology. Do you want the jobs? Do you want the innovation happening in the United States, or do you want it happening in China? If we're up against this other country that's operating by an entirely different set of rules, it's like being in a race and giving them a head start. It's not fair. The Trump administration is exactly right. They have put an AI czar in place. They've got executive orders in place and aggressively pursuing a reversal of the flawed Biden administration energy policies to ensure that we can power these in a way that's reliable and affordable. We can win this race, but it's going to take this administration continuing to prioritize. They've been doing a great job so far.
Yeah, what about that AI situation? I mean, there was some pushback in certain states saying, no, well, we want to have our own AI leadership on this. But I think the president makes a great point. You can't have 50 different AI rules.
No, that's exactly right. And that's why this executive order they're working on is exactly what needs to happen. You have to have a clear set of rules that apply across the United States. It's the right direction, and you can do it in a way that respects privacy and autonomy for the states as well.
What do you think, Kirsten?
That's absolutely right, Maria. You know, states have always been the hubs of innovation. States are always where good ideas are tested and moving forward. But in an AI race against China, when it's not just about national security, but also about all